Hello everyone, I'm Rahul, and today we are going to continue with Khalil Gibran's insights on work. Previously we discussed one of the most essential questions related to work. What should drive you to work? And the conclusion was that you should work for the very love of it. Love should be the driving force. Everything else is just secondary, be it money, fame, success, and all the rest of it. Now this insight can lead to a further problem. A lot of us really know what we want to do in our life, what we really would love to do in our life, but we are rather confused about whether it is right or wrong. So there is a sense of hesitation in following our heart. And after all, we are social creatures and we want to be sure of making a decision that is according to the social norms. We do not want to piss off a lot of people around us. And an individual life is so complex. It is a mix of social pressures and conditionings. There are unsaid expectations from the parents, from friends, from society. And in such a complex space, one can become overly cautious about making a decision that might seem right to him or her, but not to the people around him or her. So one can become extremely indecisive, and in that indecisiveness, one can choose to suffocate their potential just because it doesn't meet the expectation of the important people around them. For example, let's say that someone's father is a very successful and famous businessman, and he wants his son to follow in the footsteps. But the son just wants to be a musician. His heart is in music and he wants to pursue it wholeheartedly, even though it might not bring him success or fame that his father has. In such a situation, the success of the father can really overshadow and actually kill the potential of the child. A successful businessman would not want his son to become a small-time musician. And there are so many cunning ways. He would convince his son that you can pursue music as a hobby, but you should look for a real job. And gradually, when you are going to enforce this thing over and over again, the son might give up. This is the killing of the potential, suffocating and strangling your potential. And this is the ugly truth of our society. By the time people reach in their 20s, millions of dreams die. People settle for all kind of financial security and jobs, titles that bring them some social respectability. And strangling your potential for some social respectability or financial security is a poison for your soul. Because once the compromise is done, every breath just reminds you of the unlived potential. You are haunted by it every single day. So how should one really go beyond the hesitation so that this blunder can be avoided? Gibran has a tremendous insight for it, and the message is really subtle, so you will have to pay close attention to it. Gibran says, "Often have I heard you say, as if speaking in sleep, he who works in marble and finds the shape of his own soul in the stone is nobler than he who plows the soil." Gibran is indicating towards an ugly hierarchy that exists in our society, and we are part of it. He is pointing towards the problem, and in that very problem lies the solution. So pay close attention to it, because this is the subtle message. If you cannot gather the courage to follow your heart, it simply means that you are deeply conditioned by the society to look at people through a filter of higher and lower. You are constantly evaluating and judging people. You are participating in this ugly social hierarchy, and your biggest fear is to end up at the lowest rung of the ladder. And the irony is that society hypnotizes us in so many ways to consider certain professions as noble, good, worth pursuing, and to disregard certain professions as regular small-time jobs not worth pursuing. So this is the ugly reality of our society. Here the worth of the individual is reduced to his or her profession. And once we participate in this ugly system, indirectly we are bound to have a desire to become extraordinary, a special person who is respected by everyone. Because in this ugly system, the ordinary people having a small-time job are not respected, and we do not want to be disrespected. This desire to become extraordinary or special keeps us confined into this ugly social hierarchy. To put it simply, your hesitation to follow your heart will not go away till the time you have these hierarchical filters. You'll have to drop them. Do you get it? the day you will stop having judgments about other people, that very day your hesitation will go away. Because a mind that is constantly judging and evaluating other people on the basis of what they do, that mind is afraid of other people's judgment. If you don't judge, you don't judge. You are free. Sometimes mind works in really simple ways. The way it looks at the world, it expects that the world looks back at it in the same way. Now we know the problem and we also know the solution. The question arises how to make it practical, how to become non-judgmental in your daily life. So first of all, you'll have to become aware of your own judgmental mind. And this is a very important step because a lot of us live under the delusion that we are not at all judgmental. We treat everyone as equal. And this is the fallacy of the mind. It lives with so much wrong notions and ideas about itself. So be very careful in your watchfulness and you will find it. Watch how you behave and react in other people's presence. If someone important comes to your house, some powerful person, do you become attentive? Do you become nervous? Are you fearful in that moment of making a mistake? And what happens to you if a gardener comes to your house? Do you even care about him? Do you even ask his name? No. This says something about your ugly mind, ugly conditioning. I'm not blaming you. This is the conditioning that is done by the society. Watch how you try to flatter your boss and how rudely you talk to your building sweeper or watchman. It says something about your mind, how deeply conditioned you are. Watch how you talk to a small fruit and vegetable seller. You try to bargain there and you go to a very fancy restaurant and you tip the waiter there. Says something about your mind, the conditioning, the judgmental part of it. So you have to see this thing very carefully in your life to realize that you are deeply conditioned by the society. Then only you will try to get rid of it. So first step is to become aware of your own judgmental mind, and the second step is to drop it. When you drop the judgmental mind, for the very first time you start seeing people as delicate beings. Each one of us is important. Each one of us is a sensitive, delicate being. Can't you respect everyone? Can't you allow everyone to be as the way they are? Do you really have to judge them as higher or lower? Learn to love people just because they are alive, sensitive and delicate beings. They are vulnerable beings. The more loving and acceptable you will become towards others, the more you will start loving and accepting yourself. And then you won't need the courage to follow your heart. You will follow your heart because you will feel a responsibility towards yourself. You will follow your heart because you care for yourself. You will follow your heart because you love yourself. And once you will start following your heart, another beautiful phenomena is bound to happen. Sooner or later, people will start respecting your work. If you will have a reverence and respect for your work, it cannot go unnoticed. People will get it. I'm reminded of Abraham Lincoln. He was a shoemaker's son who became the president of the United States. So naturally all the senators and the powerful people, they were a little pissed. They could not tolerate the idea that the country has a shoemaker's son as its president. So on his first day in the Senate, when he was about to give his inaugural speech, a senator stood up and he said, "Mr. Lincoln, do not forget that you are a shoemaker's son. And you used to come to my house with your father to make shoes for my whole family. And many other senators are here. Your father and you used to go to their houses as well." This senator was thinking that he is going to humiliate Abraham Lincoln. But you cannot humiliate a man like Abraham Lincoln. He said something really significant, which has to be remembered by everyone. Abraham Lincoln said that, "I am really grateful that on the very first day of this Senate, you have reminded me of my father. He was a great craftsman. The way he made shoes was incomparable. There was no other shoemaker like him. I really respect his creativity and I can never surpass him in his creativity. I can never become the best president, but he was a best shoemaker." So I want to remind everyone here, if you are wearing the shoes that my father made and if they are pinching you, I am not as good and artist like my father, but I can at least correct the shoes. I can make sure that they don't pinch you anymore. I have learned this much art from him. Listening to this, the whole Senate was silent, and everyone got the message that you cannot humiliate a man like Abraham Lincoln. And why am I telling you this? Because Abraham Lincoln had a tremendous respect towards creativity. He must have seen, I'm sure of this, how his father worked. His father must have poured his whole heart and soul. That's the only way that a shoemaker can get the respect, the reverence for his work. So if you will have a tremendous respect towards your work, if you will throw yourself wholeheartedly in your work, if you will follow your heart, people will get it. So it does not matter whether you are a painter, a poet, or a shoemaker. What matters is that you give your whole heart and soul to your work. The day you will give your work everything that you have got, that very day your work will become noble. Like Gibran said, that we are told that a sculptor is nobler than the farmer. It's not the case. The work only becomes noble when we give it everything that we have got, when we give our heart, when we give our soul. So I hope that you have clearly understood why do we hesitate in following our heart, and you will try to fix it completely by dropping your judgmental mind, by loving other people, by accepting other people, because that love and acceptance will give you the courage to follow your heart. And I wish you all the best for that.